Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivjakacharya Ashtotter Sada Sri Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Granthara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Na Ishtikhi. Today we are continuing to read from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, entitled The Forest of Enjoyment, text number 15. Prose-based verse, so please repeat word to word meaning. Kvachit, sometimes. Asadhyam, experiencing. Griham, the home life. Dhavavat, exactly like a blazing fire in the forest. Priya artha vidurham, without any beneficial object. Asukha udarkam, resulting only in more and more unhappiness. Shoka Agnina, by the fire of lamentation. Dahyamanaha, being burned. Brisham, very great. Nirvedam, disappointment. Upagacchati, he obtains. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In this world, family life is exactly like a blazing fire in the forest. There is not the least happiness, and gradually one becomes more and more implicated in unhappiness. In household life, there is nothing favorable for perpetual happiness. Being implicated in home life, the conditioned soul is burned by the fire of lamentation. Sometimes he condemns himself as being very unfortunate, and sometimes he claims that he suffers because he performed no pious activities in his previous life. Purport. In the Guru Ashtaka, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura has sung Samsara dhava nalalida lokha tranaya karunya gana ghanatvam. The life in this material world is exactly like a blazing forest fire. No one goes to set fire to the forest, yet the fire takes place. Similarly, everyone wants to be happy in the material world, but the miserable conditions of material life simply increase. Sometimes a person caught in the blazing fire of material existence condemns himself, but due to his bodily conception, he cannot get out of the entanglement, and thus he suffers more and more. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. O Great One, O Supreme Lord, because of combination with pleasing and displeasing circumstances and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. We all know this comes in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers to Lord Narasimhadev, where Prahlad Maharaj is putting himself in the role of a person burning in the fire of material existence. Is making a lot of crucial points here. They endeavor to overcome the miseries, and then we find a solution to that. The solution seems to be creating more problem than the actual problem itself. So in purport to this, Srila Prabhupada brings out important points, which we will discuss from the purport, the crucial points. Happiness or distress in this material world is always distress. Whether it is a miserable condition or distressful or the opposite, enjoyable, all that Prabhupada equates that to be miserable. Whether one is miserable or happy, both conditions are miserable. If one actually wants happy, blissful life, one must become Krishna conscious and constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So Guru is the one who gives this actual remedy. And in this particular verse, the living entity is starting to reflect, and he is condemning himself that I have not done any pious activities. It is a good point where the living entity is starting to take responsibility of his current situation and is willing to take some remedial measures. Instead of trying to blame the external situation, blame the people at home, blame the government, blame the other miseries that are around him, although they are giving him trouble. But in this particular verse and purport, the living entity is turning the attention to himself, and he is regretting for not having done any pious activities. And this is a good state of mind for a person to receive transcendental knowledge. He is coming to a point of realization that I am also a part of the problem, which means I should take steps to get out of the problem and not just blame the externals. And this is a crucial time for the living entity to take shelter of the Lord, and that being the ultimate remedy. And that will actually take one out of this sokagnina, the fire of lamentation. Sokagnina sakala yonishu dahyamana, being burned. He is put through priya apriya. He is put through pleasing and not pleasing. Yasmat priya priya viyoga samyoga janma. So this distressful situation, pleasing, not pleasing, same words come in the Bhagavad Gita as well. One should be fixed in intelligence despite being put in pleasing and not pleasing circumstances. Sthira buddhir asammudo brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. The same burning fire of lamentation is being discussed in today's verse, and the solution for that, as indicated by Srila Prabhupada in his purport, is through the prayers that we sing daily. Personally, I am not qualified to speak on Guru Ashtakam because it's been a long time since I have been regular in the morning program myself. But somehow, by the devotees' help and their mercy, in fact, I have to take guidance from them how to even sing the proper meter and the proper tune, because I've been so much out of touch with the morning program. But it's an indication that I must pick myself up. So today, I am trying to preach to myself the glories of Guru Ashtakam, which I thought we will discuss in this particular section of the purport it's coming from. It's starting with Samsara Dava. So what I'm going to speak is based on Srila Prabhupada's lectures on Guru Ashtakam. And His Grace Amarendra Prabhu has also spoken on Guru Ashtakam, collected few points from his lecture in Hindi. Then few points from the IDC course, which had a wealth of information on Guru. So we will begin by looking at one verse of Guru Ashtakam, then look at the word-to-word meaning, then proceed in that format. Samsara dava nalalita loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam praptasya kalyana guna arnavasya vande guru sri charanara vindam. So the spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on forest fire and extinguishes it, the spiritual master is delivering the materially conditioned souls by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of spiritual qualities. So, to derive more nectar, we will go into the word-to-word meaning and then discuss. The word-to-word meaning and the lyrics can be found in kksongs.org. People, the loka, are afflicted, leader, by what? By the forest fire of material existence. So if we are able to relate it to ourselves, we are the people, at least I can vouch for it, some exalted devotees could be in the assembly who are beyond the threefold miseries. So, the first line itself relates to a common man who is burning in the forest fire of material existence. If people think, I'm okay, I'm happy, nothing is wrong, I'm able to be happy in this world, I'm content, I have my arrangements done, by which I can counteract, I can find new methods to overcome these. So that kind of mentality is not suitable for a person to receive spiritual knowledge. A person comes to the point where he understands that it is going beyond my control and ability and I need spiritual guidance. And such a person becomes eligible to receive. And now is the time. Because of the circumstances which are beyond our control, we are forced to take shelter of the Lord through the spiritual master. Now, what does he do, the spiritual master? He is Tranaya, he is delivering. So this word Tranaya, Krishna also uses, Paritranaya, to deliver the pious and who annihilate the miscreants. So here, the spiritual master is delivering Tranaya. Then the analogy of the cloud and the forest fire is given. So forest fire is the current situation that we are in. Now Lord Krishna is compared to an ocean. He is far away. Now can the people in the forest fire who are burning, can they physically go to the ocean? No. Now what has to happen is the clouds have to be formed, then they have to carry the water, but the cloud can come where the forest fire is burning. And in the cloud, the amount of water in the cloud only can put out the forest fire. We can't throw buckets of water on a forest fire. We need a large amount of quantity of water that comes from the spiritual master in the form of his mercy. So you see how reachable the spiritual master is? The conditioned souls cannot run towards Krishna because he is in Goloka Vrindavan. But the spiritual master comes to where you are. And he extinguishes the forest fire by mercy, the quality of a cloud. So this way it is like you're getting the mercy at your own doorstep. Now this ocean analogy, the spiritual master in the first example is compared to a cloud getting water from the mercy of the Lord. So he is an ocean. The second analogy is given that the spiritual master is also an ocean. Ocean of what? Ocean of good qualities, auspicious qualities. Kalyana, Guna, Arnava, who is an ocean. And he is Praptasya. So where does he get this good qualities from? Praptasya means he has obtained. He has obtained, the spiritual master has obtained all the auspicious qualities from where? By what method does he obtain that? By faithfully serving his spiritual master. Like that, the transference of bhakti and the bhakti potency happens from the heart of the spiritual master to that of a disciple. So the current disciple who fulfills, satisfies, pleases, follows the instructions of the Guru and pleases the Guru, he becomes empowered and he obtains the Kalyana Guna, all the auspicious qualities from his spiritual master, ultimately coming from Krishna. How does a spiritual master extinguish the forest fire? To be getting into more details, he does that through his instructions, through his Vani. So Hindi and even I think Hindi we say for water, it is Pani. So Guru's Vani is acting like the water, Pani, to put out the fire, Dhavanal, and that is coming out through his mouth, the instructions. Even in the Guru Vandana, during Guru Puja we sing, Guru Muga Padma Vakya, whatever comes out, my consciousness is, let that be purified. Nothing else. Guru Muga Padma Vakya, Chittite Koriya Akya. So through that he is extinguishing by giving suitable instructions to the disciple. He is extinguishing the forest fire and he is bringing the conditioned soul out of the material existence. When we were discussing the point about initiation, Diksha, so the word Di-iksha, destroying. So D is spiritual vision, and then there is destruction of ignorance. That's what happens at the time of Diksha. Your spiritual master gives you the spiritual vision by which he tells things as they are, as it is, and not cover it up. So at the time of initiation, that is what you receive, spiritual knowledge, and the ignorance is getting destroyed. So that is when the formal connection is made. Even before that, Guru's Vani will keep acting in the form of, so when you follow Guru's instructions, then you will feel the effect. To the extent you follow, to that extent you will come out of the burning fire of material existence. So we take shelter of such a spiritual master. So moving on to the second verse from Guru Ashtakam. Mahaprabho Kirtan Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manaso Rasena Romancha Kampa Shru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. Now, why we have to describe the glories of the spiritual master? Or why should we go into the details? Prabhupada explains that just as Brahmanas, the priestly men, have qualities, guna and karma, as Kshatriyas have guna and karma, like that, spiritual master also has guna and karma, activities and his qualities. So the first verse we saw how the spiritual master is presenting the actual state of material existence as it is. Now that was the problem. The solution is, he is going to give the solution by engaging us in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's service. So to engage us, he himself also must be engaging in it, and he must be at a very exalted level that he is also exhibiting the qualities when he undertakes the devotional activities, his bodily symptoms, his activities. That is getting described here. What does he do? Mahaprabho Kirtana Nritya Gita. Kirtana is chanting. Nritya, what does Nritya mean? What do we do in the Mangalarati when do we just stand still in attention like a military thing? What do we do? We dance. So, this is inspired by the spiritual master. The same Mangalarati, when we have visiting gurus and sannyasis, the whole mood is different. It takes us to a different level. nritya, and then he is also singing. Then he is playing musical instruments, vaditra, madhya. Vaditra is playing musical instruments. So you can relate to how Srila Prabhupada was playing harmonium, mridanga, kartals. There are so many mridanga lessons, even kartal lessons, based on what Srila Prabhupada taught us. Now, as a result of that, singing, dancing, he is experiencing gladness, madhyat. Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyat. The word Vadhyat means gladdened. He is gladdened and he is going to give the remedy for the living entities burning in the forest fire. The remedy is follow Mahaprabhu's method of singing, dancing, playing musical instruments. Singing what? Singing the holy names of the Lord. Not come and sing some mundane cinema songs. So sing the holy name of the Lord, combine that, not just you, as sung Kirtan, involve others, play musical instruments. This is when we can recollect how Srila Prabhupada in his early days, he encouraged, when he was sitting in Tompkins Square Parks, he encouraged others who bring their musical instruments to bring them along and join in his Kirtan, sung Kirtan. Whether it is going out of tune, it doesn't matter whether it fits, because Prabhupada is not there to conduct an orchestra like you do this. No. He is having a strong connection with the Lord through the spiritual name, and by that potency is attracting living entities, and when they, the timing in which he went, music was very prevalent and the Western world was into music, counterculture, so it was like a perfect timing, and then Prabhupada did not discriminate. You people are from a lower caste, you should not come. No, his potency attracted all people of different caste, creed, gender. They came and they started dancing. And he encouraged all of them to do it. And this is the physical symptom. So what is happening in the mind of the spiritual master is, the mind is also gladdened. Gladdened with what? Gladdened with the rasa. Vaditra madhyan manaso rasena. That is what is the medicine for the living entity which is burning in the forest fire. The mellow of devotional service. So here is a person who is exhibiting all that, and he is in front of us, and the effect of that puts out the forest fire of material existence. Now he goes a step further. The spiritual master is absorbed in it, and now we are going to look at the bodily symptoms of the spiritual master when he is engaged in Vaditra, Madhyan, Manaso, Rasena. Roma ancha, hairs standing on end. Kampa, Shru, Taranga, quivering of the body. Ashru, Taranga, not just one drop of tear, like torrents of tears coming out from the eyes of the spiritual master. So, all this is happening. If we try to understand a little more detail about how the tears come, Nectar of Devotion explains that body has vital life force, okay? And this life force, when it comes in contact with the 5 elements, so what are the 5 elements in the body? 5 elements in the body. Air, fire, water. Okay. So let's focus on air and water. When this vital force comes in contact with water, that's when the tears appear. When this vital force comes in contact with air, that's when the hairs stand on end and the voice falters. So this is given in Nectar of Devotion. So you understood the point? Vital force is there in the body and it comes in contact with water, then tears come. When the vital force comes in contact with air, then voice falters and hairs stand on end. So this is in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 28. Those who want to read further. Now what happens when it comes in contact with fire? Then you get perspiration. What happens when the vital force comes in contact with the sky? Then there is complete devastation. So I hope we covered all the 5. Earth. Yeah, with earth one gets stunned. Because earth is the element which gives us support. And when a person is becoming unconscious, he will start to feel that the ground is moving. And then he will try to look up the sky also seems to move. So these ecstatic symptoms are a result of the vital force coming in contact with each of the 5 elements. So earth, you get stunned. With water, you shed tears. With fire, you perspire. When it comes with sky, there is complete devastation. And then with the air, your voice falters, your hairs stand on end, and there is trembling. Now Srila Prabhupada, although he tried to control these ecstatic symptoms, few instances it came out. During Jai Radha Madhav Kirtan, and also the small clip which I got in WhatsApp where a deity installation is happening. Prabhupada is explaining about deity installation, and then he tells, don't think that this deity is a stone or a brass or a metal. The Lord is actually there. And then he goes on to explain the mood in which we have to do the service. At that time, Srila Prabhupada's voice falters. He cries, Krishna, I brought these flowers for you. I have no qualification. Kindly accept it. So at that time, Prabhupada's voice will falter and then he will cry. But he will quickly compose himself and then say, don't be puffed up. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. So this is how the spiritual master, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtana movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his bodily hairs stand on end. He feels quivering in the body and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisances and to the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. So first stanza described the problem, then the further stanzas in the Guru Ashtakam will give solutions from various angles. We saw the Sankirtana movement, giving solution, gladdening you, seeing such a spiritual master, the conditioned soul burning in the fire of lamentation also becomes pacified. Now the third stanza, Sri Vigrahara Dana Nitya Nana Sringara Tanman Diramarjanadav Yuktasya Bhaktams Cha Niyunja Topi Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. So what is being described in this third paragraph of Guru Ashtakam? What concept is being brought out? Deity worship. Good. So with deity worship comes a set of services. So that is what we will touch upon in this particular section. Sri Vigra, the deity form of the Lord in the temple, it's not just we have them, but they must be worshipped, aradhana. Aradhana has to be done. And this aradhana, is it like once in a month, once in a fortnight, or quarterly, half-yearly, annually? What word is used? Nitya. Nitya, always, daily. I think one of the devotees sent me the quote of His Grace Pankajangiri Prabhu about how a head pujari is not meant to even leave the temple building outside, just to go outside. Why? Because he is on call always. If somebody is not there, he has to go. It's like there's no closure for the temple, and then there is Nitya Seva. There's a particular time, they wake up, then Bhoga offering, dressing. Somebody has to cook when simultaneously dressing is happening, and if anybody doesn't turn up, there's a head pujari has to jump in and take over. And Prabhu equates that to raising a children, having constant engagement with the children. But in his own sweet way, he says that deity worship is better than having children. Why? Because you know for sure when the deities will go to sleep and when they will get up. In that way, there is certain amount of regulation, whereas you don't know when your kids will go to sleep, when they will get up. But his exalted nature came out that he explains that you may feel that you're restricted so much, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go for social gatherings, but in human form, one has to take that austerity, because other forms cannot perform these kind of austerities, and it is a blessing of the spiritual master, because he has given such a engagement which is eternal, uplifting, and you are dealing with the personal form of the Lord. Sri Vigraha Aradhana Nitya Nana. Then comes Sringara, means you dress the deities with nice clothing and ornaments. And within ISKCON, this principle is applied by having ornaments which are not made of gold, so that we don't have to have the anxiety of protecting, maintaining security and theft and all that. Still, there were some instances, even in Mayapur. But one of the thread that I picked up when going through the Disciples Course content is that the principles from the Gaudiya Vaishnava traditions will be discussed, and then within ISKCON, how we are applying that. So that is a sequence in which it is went. So that helped me to make a connection with how Srila Prabhupada is taking the Gaudiya Vaishnava principles and is applying them within ISKCON, and he is giving it to us to follow as well. Then comes the another Nitya Seva. You have a temple, then it has to be maintained, mandira, temple, and it has to be cleaned. That cleaning service is also Nitya, because decoration is Nitya, cleaning is Nitya. Here is where the expertise of the spiritual master. He is going to engage different devotees in various services to the deity. By this, the living entity who is in bodily consciousness, he cannot perceive the absolute Brahman who is formless. He cannot perceive the Supreme Lord in Goloka Vrindavan. But the pure devotee requests the Lord to come and reside in the form of wood, metal or marble. The biggest aspect of deity installation is that the pure devotee touches his heart and requests the Lord in his heart to come and reside externally in the form of Archa Vigraha. That is the key connection. That happens only through Sri Guru, spiritual master. So he requests the Lord to come and reside, and he promises that I will serve you in a regular way, as Prabhupada promised to in Juhu, Radha Ras Bihari, I will make a temple for you. So till that time, please bear with me. They were in the shed. But later on, he engaged different set of people in different engagements. So we will go a little deeper into the process of this deity worship as explained by Srila Prabhupada in his lectures on Guru Ashtakam. Yeah, we saw that the Vigraha is not a stone. Guru requests the Lord to be present, and he personally, so Guru not only just delegates and gives everything and he sits in a corner, no, he personally does it, leads by example, exemplifies it, and then trains his disciple as well. We saw the deity dress, how it should be, first class. And here are some of the points related to temple. Temple, Prabhupada says, is an expansion of the deity's spiritual energy. So temple is an expansion of the deity's spiritual energy. So therefore, it has to be kept neat and clean. So one need not feel that I'm not able to go into the altar and do seva. Prabhupada explains that even a person engage in gardening or cleaning the toilets or anything of that sort related to the temple, it is as good as deity worship. Because you're cleaning a portion of the Lord's body, Lord's spiritual energy. So therefore the service is exalted. And this temple cleaning, Prabhupada explains, is a form of tapasya which one has to undertake. Human form, tapo divyam. So this is the expertise of the spiritual master, where he is able to engage the living entity who is burning in the forest fire by giving him different engagements for his hands, legs, eyes. By that, in the background, the bhakti process is working and purification is happening. So you clean my temple, Krishna says, I clean your heart. So the spiritual master, being expert, he engages the conditioned living entity in various engagements and the senses are getting purified. Another point Prabhupada mentioned which made me think that he is not only in the Mahabhagavad Uttam Adhikari platform and he knows how to run the temple on a day-to-day basis, so he gives a word of caution that you keep the gate of the temple locked for security purposes. Highly relevant for us. And Prabhupada mentioned in his lecture, in a series of lectures, he says, don't just leave the gates open, keep them locked and secured. So he's not just a Babaji from Vrindavan, like always in meditation. He knows how to run an international organization, set the 7 purposes, and up to the ground level of people on the floor, we say in a factory or something, the floor men. Up to that level, he is able to give guidance. So, now, what are the results of doing deity worship and temple cleaning? So we saw the process. It is nitya, it has to be clean, first class, secure. Now, what do I get by engaging in deity worship and temple cleaning? Because there's always this point, like what's in it for me? Then We are more inspired. At a very perfected level, deity worship, Prabhupada explains that the deity will speak to you. The deity will speak to you. We have many instances in Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. Somebody want to recollect where deity spoke? Sakshi Gopal, very good. If you can talk, you can walk as well. So the deity will speak to you. And then one of the Goswamis, you can correct me, offering dry chapatis. Is it Raghunath? Sanatan Goswami. Yeah, offering dry rotis. The deity is asking, give me some salt. Prabhupada nicely explains that I am myself getting these rotis out of begging, so kindly accept it. So deity speaks. Now, the second point, those of us who are not at that level, how do I relate? If you want to get inspiration, especially if you want to get spiritual inspiration, engage in deity worship and temple cleaning. Prabhupada explains that this process infusing means, you know how we make tea, you put the tea bag in a hot cup of water, and that's called as infusing. You put it and then the juice extends. So if you want your mind to be absorbed and get spiritual inspiration, infuses the mind with spiritual inspiration. That's the result you get by deity worship and temple cleaning. As we saw, the heart not only becomes clean, not just to have a clean heart, but a decorated heart. Prabhupada says that will happen when you engage in decorating the deities and cleaning and decorating the temple. So your heart becomes clean and decorated. Further benefits are that the understanding that you get by reading Shastras will go to a next level when you engage in practical service. And by this whole process, you are becoming fit to go back to Godhead. Now we saw the effect of cinema songs. So Prabhupada explains that in the temple, there is also constant playing of musical instruments and the Kirtans, and that will remove the taste of mundane cinema songs from the heart of a conditioned soul. Now that winter is coming, we will all want to have different layers of clothing, decorate ourselves. The process will take away the desire to decorate oneself nicely. The process, when you decorate the deities nicely, the temple nicely, the internal desire to decorate oneself with ornaments and costly clothing, that desire goes away. Because that desire is what pushing the living entity into the fire. And this is how expertly the spiritual master takes the living entity out of the material existential fire through giving spiritual satisfaction, spiritual nourishment, and your heart will not only be clean, but it will also be decorated. Now one may question is just the person who is closely working with the deities only, will they get the benefit? And Prabhupada says no, even the common public who come and see that the temple is nicely clean and kept and maintained, and when they take prasad and when they appreciate, they are also getting Shukruti. Public will also benefit. So this is the deeper explanation of Sri Vigrahara Tana Nityanana Sringara Tan Mandira Marjanada. So the effect on those who engage and on the public. This is the mastermind of the spiritual master, and that's why later on he'll be called as Daksha, expert. Now, deities are there, we are dressing them nicely. After dressing, what do? Decoration, okay, that's done. Offer bhoga, right? We don't keep them starving. That's the next theme of prasada tattva. Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada Swad Anna Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Kritvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. 4 kinds of Bhagavat Prasada offered. By that, Triptan, spiritually satisfied, and your body is also getting nourished. And you take it in the Sangha of devotees. And seeing his disciples offering such bhoga to the Lord, and then later honoring prasadam and distributing prasadam, the spiritual master is also satisfied. The spiritual master is always offering 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzed as that which is licked, chewed, drunk and sucked. Chravya, cheshta, paya is drunk. So yeah, lehya is licked. L for L, licked, lehya. Chewable, which is called charvya. And then chushya, sucked. And peya, which is drunk. So what are some examples of which can be sucked, chushya, bhoga? What are some examples of that? Bhoga which you offer, then prasad which can be tasted by sucking. Sorry? Lemon, okay. Fruit juices, can we say? Can be drunk sometimes if it is. Now what do we taste by licking? Shrikant, Hari Bol. Ice creams. Now, here is a combination where there is 4 kinds of palatable food, and that has to be combined according to the seasons, and then that has to be done as per the time of the day, and it has to be done nitya, because nitya we saw in the verse 3, which means for devotees there is continuous engagement. Not only you have to come up with a menu and start thinking, but the more you are thinking about making different kinds of bhoga for the Lord, your mind, your senses, your body, all that is getting engaged in the service of the Lord. And as we saw earlier, in the background, purification is happening. The living entity who is burning in this material existence, when he gets this kind of engagements, when he offers bhoga and later tastes the prasadam, what does he get? Spiritual satisfaction and nourishment. Yeah, and then combine that 4 kinds with taste, salt, sweet, bitter and sour. So salty item which can be licked, salty item which can be sucked. You make that combination. Sweet items which can be licked, sucked, drunk, bitter items like that. So there is a whole variety of engagement for the disciple to be engaged, and this again is the expertise of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada says, the spiritual master's duty is to engage his disciples in preparing varieties of nice foodstuffs to offer the deity. After being offered, this food is distributed as prasadam to the devotees. Spiritual master himself does not eat or require such a variety of prasadam. By seeing to the offering and distribution of prasadam, he himself, the spiritual master himself, is encouraged in devotional service. So Prabhupada summarizes by saying that realization of God can be had through tongue. Sevan mukhehi jivado. Simply by eating you will become Krishna consciousness, even if he does not do anything. So Prabhupada gives the example of people who come on a Sunday feast and just eating prasadam and going. And this point is making in Melbourne, April 6, 1972, at a lecture at a Christian monastery. So, by distributing food, the spiritual food, simply by eating, he will be in Krishna consciousness, even if he does not do anything. But actually, we are inviting persons to come, sit down, chant with us Hare Krishna mantra and take prasadam and go home. That's all. This is our program. I don't think we'll have time to cover all the 8 verses. I will pause here and ask if there are any comments or questions on what we discussed. Yes, Mataji. What is the greatest service we can give for our spiritual master? There are specific instructions which a guru gives to a disciple, which he has to fulfill to satisfy him, and there are general instructions that he gives in his lectures. By taking them to the heart, and most important thing, Prabhupada explains that if you develop love for Krishna, that will please me the most. The question is asked about book distribution, or if you love Krishna, that will please Prabhupada the most. That's what he said when a question was raised. So, looking at Guru's instructions, hearing it, even worshipping it, executing it, and developing love for Krishna, doing it in a proper mood, that will please the Guru. So, if others want to add to it, they can. Okay, if there's no other questions, we will conclude here. Granthara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Next 4. Maybe we can turn off the broadcast maybe.